All right, welcome back, guys. Episode 8, Off the Edge. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. He is Cameron Lynch, and we are back for our second part of this mini series where we're pretty much giving you a mock draft of the NFL draft. It's going to be tomorrow, right? So, very much be sure to check these out. Be sure to check out the first one as well. It's on our YouTube page, which you definitely should go subscribe to if you haven't already. It's just the channel name, and you can either put the channel name in Jake or channel name in Cam, and it'll come up in the YouTube search. But also it's on Bleav. It's on my personal channel, and you could probably find it on all your podcast platforms as well. We're now on Distro TV, which is really cool. So, yeah, we're cooking with grease, Cam. And, that's also paired with Local Now. So, a lot of good stuff going on right now. But
we're popping, Jake. We're popping.
But before we can continue to pop, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, rate, review if you're on, audio platform. Really do, appreciate those reviews out there and those ratings. And, just letting you know that betonline.ag is your number one source for all your basketball info this season. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest player reports for this year's pro basketball playoffs. BetOnline is always your sports information headquarters this season, as we continue to have you covered for all your sports wagering needs: basketball, MLB, NHL, right to UFC and boxing. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info, including live betting options and your favorite casino and card games you can play right from your home. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Be sure to use our promo code Bleav to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online where the game starts. So, Cam, we normally start with the number one overall pick, but we already did that. That was Bryce Young. We both agreed on that. We also both agreed on Anthony Richardson going to the Colts. We both agreed on Jalen Carter going to the Seattle Seahawks. So we had a lot of agreements. We had some disagreements. We had some trades. Because of that, nothing changed in the 17 to 31 realm. So just wanted to keep people up to date on that in case you haven't seen the first one. But we're kicking off with the Steel Curtain Pittsburgh Steelers. And Cam, who are the Steelers picking here at 17, or are they trading down?
Oh, good one there. But I'm not going to trade here. The Steelers are not going to trade. They got a great receiver in Allen Robinson from the Rams. We covered that on the Bleav in Rams podcast. We covered that here on Off the Edge. So I want to go with a guy who can cover someone like Allen Robinson in practice, right, to sharpen those skills. And I got here Deonte Banks, right, coming out of Maryland, cornerback, 6 feet tall, 197, ran a 4.35. I don't know if Allen Robinson ran a 4.35, Jake. So my guy Deonte might have him on the speed there. So, he's a very athletic guy, 11.4 broad jump, 42-inch vert. I mean, whoa. I mean, my man's jumping out of the gym, clearly, right? 8 PBUs on the season. So, if the Steelers draft a guy like Deonte, he has someone like Allen Robinson to, work those skills, and Pickens to work those skills. A couple of things, though, with Deonte. It felt like when it came to his interception, his interception numbers, it was a little bit low. But also what I realized is his coverage is suffocating, my man, right? Where a lot of times when they throw the ball to the receiver, either he's glued onto the receiver or putting his hand out for the ball, or it's like a blanket. And so I love his coverage skills. I love his ability. But Deonte Banks coming out of Maryland, the ACC school, that's who I have going to the Steelers. Jake, what about you?
Yeah, so Deonte Banks is not who I have because I had him going to Washington. I think when you look at Banks, I honestly, I'm looking right here at my I had to bring up my notes on him. Most athletic corner to ever come out of the NFL draft, ?
Wow.
This guy, he's an athlete. And, not just an athlete, he's able to sift through the trash and help out, in his run assignments. And, he mirrors well in coverage, man coverage. And to me, I think he's one of the top corners in this class. Great boundary corner. So I like the pick, Cam. I think Steelers fans are going to like that. Steelers fans might also like this pick. He's not who I would pick here, but I think this is where they're going, Cam.
Okay.
It's Joey Porter Jr. out of Penn State. Okay.
I see what you did there. That's nice.
Yeah. Joey Porter, as obviously you picked up on and Steelers fans will pick up on, is former Steelers great. And this is his kid. I think if they go cornerback, they should go with Emmanuel Forbes. I think he's the best corner on the board at this point in the draft. He's my number 3 corner. But I Bleav that they'll go with JPJ. And to me, this team doesn't shy away from the obvious. Everyone, their mother knew they were drafting Najee Harris, and they, what do? They're like, we're going to draft Najee Harris. Like, everyone's like, oh, is this a smokescreen? Like, no, we're literally taking Najee Harris. Like, so that's one of those things. Another one of those things, they take Kenny Pickett out of Pitt. Everyone's like, no, that's too obvious. Like, they're not going to do that. They took him. I see the bloodline there. The connection is obvious. He was playing his, football at Pennsylvania. So, obviously Pennsylvania State. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Physical. I think Joey Porter Jr. fits what they are looking for in a corner. They need a corner. And, I think at the end of the day, he needs to be like a press man corner. I think he's got the physicality that you really look for. And I think he's got some decent ball skills. And that's going to help a defense that already has some really good talent coming off the edge in TJ Watt and, Alex Highsmith. At the end of the day, I think he makes a lot of sense. He's a little too grabby for my liking, and he needs to trust his technique more. I am a little concerned about that, but that's something you can be coached up in the NFL with. So Joey Porter Jr., again, I wouldn't pick him here if I was the Steelers. I understand it. I Bleav they're going to go this way, so I'm picking him in this mock, but I would go with Forbes.
I see what you're saying there, Jake. And you mentioned the business move, right? Penn State, Steelers, it's the best business move you can probably make, right? It makes a lot of sense. So, and this, for people who are thinking about it, when it comes to nepotism and stuff like that, like, hey, did his dad say, sign my son or draft my son? The boy can ball. So nepotism or not, I think it's going to be a great business move. And the boy can play football. They need a corner. So why not? So
when you're in the first round, I don't know if it's nepotism at that point. You're already a first round talent.
Yeah, you got to be a baller. You got to be a baller. So you can't hide from that. The other thing, Jake, I know we're going to our next pick here. I got the Lions at number 18. I got a defensive tackle coming out for this one, Jake. I got a defensive tackle. I'm someone who's super explosive. Very dangerous. A lot of times, like I said, people want to compare it to Aaron Donald. Let's not do that here, but this guy is super explosive. I got Kalijah Kancey coming out of Pitt, defensive tackle. Now, he's not Aaron Donald, but I know he was in Aaron Donald's pass rush camp. The way he uses his hands, the way he moves, I'm like, ooh, he learned that from someone. He saw that from someone. So I know they trained in the Aaron Donald facility, right? Aaron Donald has his name on the facility and whatnot, and I'm sure Aaron Donald has his pass moves up on a hologram somewhere. So Kalijah's probably practicing them, while he's walking down the hallway. I love the way the guy can play. He ran a 4.6, Jake, coming out of Miami Northwestern. Super athletic, first team All ACC, third team All American. That made his way up to the first team All American and first team All ACC. So his progression from his freshman year to his senior year or to his final years at Pitt, they paid off. Watching his highlight tape, you see the jump chop, Jake. You see the run, the jump chop, and the pull. I'm like, he learned that from Aaron. He had to learn that from Aaron. So it's really cool to see the nod to Aaron Donald. Like, hey, the first play I'm gonna put on my highlight tape is that jump chop that you do. So it's really cool to see that from Kalijah. 14 sacks on the season, in 2 years, 27 TFLs. So I love it, Jake. I love it. Like I said, he's been to Aaron Donald's pass rush camp, it seems like, because he's using all the moves. He's taking a lot of notes. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so this is exactly what I was hoping for when we created and decided to have this type of, mini series mock draft, because we're going to disagree here. Okay.
Good.
This is cool because of the same position. I'm going to go with a guy whose name probably maybe 0.1% of anybody talking NFL draft can pronounce correctly. It is Adetomiwa Adebawore. I did say that correctly because I have it right in front of me. I had to make sure that was in my notes, how to say his name. But look, when you look at who is the most like Aaron Donald from an athletic standpoint, I think Kancey is very much similar to him. And it's absolutely bizarre that you have these guys coming out this year I wonder if it's a changing of the guard where we're going to see more of those undersized, quicker than fast, type of interior defensive lineman. Might be a good thing for the NFL or a bad thing if you're on the offensive side. But Adetomiwa Adebawore is somebody that needs to get talked about more in the circles of fans and draft nicks. He's going first day. Okay, he's going round 1. I believe it. I'm putting my stamp of approval on it. I know there are people that are like, no, I have this guy. I picked him up in the 3rd round in my mock draft. Good luck with that. He's going off the board at 18 here because, like you're talking about the whole Aaron Donald piece, Brad Holmes knows Aaron Donald very well. I think Brad Holmes wants something like Aaron Donald. Now, you're not going to get Aaron Donald again in this draft, but Adebawore ran a 4.49, Cam.
That's insane.
He ran a sub 4.5, and he's a defensive lineman. What are we doing? What are we feeding these kids?
He's 280.
I mean, that's where I'm at, And people say, well, the big issue on him is he's a tweener. So again, goes back to, some of the other episodes we've had. The biggest issue is that he's really good and you don't know how to use him. That's a user issue. That's not his issue. So my thing is you get athleticism, you get strength, you get hand usage. He's an inconsistent tackler. I think he's got to work on that for sure. He's not a perfect prospect. But to me, this guy's going to bolster that interior of the Lions defensive line. And I feel like they need that type of guy. I mean, they got Levi Onwuzurike out of Washington, I believe it was last year or 2 years ago. Big fan of his game. He was my number 1 defense tackle coming out. Adebawore is going to be a stud. And he's got a nonstop motor where even if he doesn't end up, equaling this 18th overall pick, his motor alone will keep him relevant in the league.
Jake, I can't disagree with you. I mean, the guy is insane. You said 4.49 at 282. Like, just stop the conversation. Stop the conversation. Sign him up because that's Jake. You call that pressure? That is pure pressure. Anybody that lines up against him, it's like, whoa, this guy's running faster than receivers. He's running faster than our fastest guys on this team. That's scary as heck, Jake. That's scary as heck. Like you said, the game is changing, man, and it's going to be interesting to see where this game ends up later, right? You talked about Aaron Donald, his size, that probably changing the makeup of a defensive lineman, right? You think about Steph Curry changing the makeup of basketball. Oh, now big guys are shooting 3-pointers now. So, it's just crazy that we're living in the season of game changers, which I'm grateful for. It's been great. So next here, Jake, I have one of my teams here, the Buccaneers. Looking forward to chatting about
pressure.
Them. No pressure. Chatting about them a little bit at number 19. But I do know that the Buccaneers went away from Donovan Smith. They just re-signed their other tackle, so they're gonna need some offensive linemen, Jake. So I got here from Oklahoma offensive tackle Anton Harrison. 6'4", 315, right? Ran a 4.98, which is decent. It's not that 4.4 we talked about as defensive lineman, but if you're O lineman, if a guy who weighs 315 pounds is running a 4.9, like sub 5, you're good to go. So he played left and right tackle. He got all his first team Big 12, and like I said, he can. I mean, Jake, at this point, he can do it all, right? Like I said, Donovan Smith is not there at the Buccaneers anymore, and so they're going to need someone else to step in at offensive line and protect their quarterback. They're trying to figure out who their quarterback is. Is it Baker Mayfield, right? What does that look like? So we want to have some guys that go in and protect them. One of the things I have here, one of the notes I have here is, and I can see him moving inside, right? We talked about Alex Kappa and Alex Kappa being able to play all positions on the offensive line. I can see like a guy like Anton moving inside and playing that offensive guard position as well. Like I said, he played both left and right tackle, so he can be used anywhere. But I would like to see him moved inside as well and protecting the Buccaneers quarterback because it's looking a little suspect now that Tom Brady's retired. So we'll see.
I'm with you. I think the Bucs absolutely need to draft an outside or offensive tackle. I think when you look at who they have, Matt Filer is on the right side. They have Justin Skule. Those are their best options. That's not great, Cam. That's not great. I'm not saying they're bad players, and I think Filer gets you through a season. It also allows you to draft a guy who might be a little raw, who you already have off the board. I think he's a top 15 talent, but the way the board fell for me, he's still here. It's Broderick Jones out of Georgia.
Nice.
See, the thing about Broderick Jones and the reason why I could see him falling is because he does need he needs to be more refined for sure, but it's the experience, Cam. He played 1.5 seasons in college. He did not play a ton, right? So I think that's definitely a concern. I think he needs to be more seasoned. And I think having a guy like Filer, who is a vet, I think he's not your ideal, because obviously in an ideal scenario here, you're drafting a tackle at 19 to be your starter. But sometimes you don't always draft a starter day one in the first round. Sometimes that upside outweighs that ability to start day one. Tampa is not a win now team right now. They are a we're trying to figure it out team right now. Mm-hmm. They're a maybe Baker Mayfield actually got reawoken in LA and can maybe win us some games type of team. But they're not a Baker Mayfield and company is bringing us to the Super Bowl like Tom Brady did. That's not where they're at. And so I think because of that, you can justify picking a more raw. And I would honestly argue that the guy that you picked, Anton Harrison, I think that's his issue. I think he's a little raw as well. So I think I agree with you, because you're going out and you're getting a guy who might take some time, but I think it's all going to work out in the end. And I like both of those guys, to be honest with you. So that's where I decided to go with that.
Yeah, I feel you on that. And, going back to the Buccaneers offensive line, they just extended Tristan Wirfs, thankfully, right? And clap the guys. They need him.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's next level. I know you probably scouted him coming out of the combine. And,
he was my favorite.
I mean, he's doing backflips out of the, doing backflips, doing flips into the pool, out of the pool. I mean,
wow. To be fair, Cam, don't you think that what's his name, Licht?
Yeah.
Don't you think he was doing backflips when they got him?
Definitely, I'm sure he was. I'm sure he was, and just to see his PPF grades, right, his rookie year, allowed maybe 1 sack or if that. So. The guy, he's next level. I don't know if we're going to see that, here in this draft. We'll see. You got guys that are bigger than him, but as productive and have the season that he's had and have a Super Bowl, we'll wait.
Yeah, he might go top 5 in this draft. Like when he was coming out of Iowa, I loved him, so I agree with you there. But who do you got for the Seattle Seahawks?
Seattle Seahawks. So with the Seattle Seahawks, I know we have we had Jalen Carter go to the Seattle Seahawks on the front end. We took care of the defensive side. I know Pete Carroll was talking about, hey, checking out these quarterbacks and letting Geno Smith know, hey, we want to evaluate all these quarterbacks. And so, just through the conversation, I do hope that the Seahawks find a quarterback maybe in the later rounds, just so we don't have any. Geno Smith's been balling, Jake, right? We covered Bleav in Rams podcast, and Geno has been tearing the Rams up. So I love what Geno's doing, but grooming someone underneath him would be great. Right now, Jake, I would like to see the Seahawks be able to throw the ball to somebody, right? Throw the ball up deep. I know they do have threats. They do have a lot of threats there. They have 2 big threats at the Seahawks. Maybe adding a third piece in there, right, to remove some of those double teams. So I got Jackson Smith, Najibba from Ohio State. Just going to the Seahawks, the way he plays, the way he balls, any team he goes to, they're going to be lucky that he's there. Just his wow factor coming off the screen. Like I said, if you watch his tape, he was a Texas State Player of the Year 6A, and being the Player of the Year in the state of Texas is insane because I talked about it. Football is king out there. So if you're in Florida, if you're in Texas, you're in California, you're the state football player of the year. Hey man, sign you up for the first round of the draft. So I like to see him go to the Seahawks there. We have some punt returns from him as well, so he can also play on special teams. We talked about that, bringing value to different teams. Play behind Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, rookie offensive player of the year, and and Garrett Wilson, and you got Chris Olave. So you got some ballers that he was able to learn from at Ohio State. I like to see him at the Seahawks. They could probably use some other positions as well, right? Some offensive tackle, but a defensive line. But you got a guy who was on the board that's just sitting there, and it's like, hey, let's bring the double teams off of our other players, and let's make sure that people can single up, and let's have these guys win one-on-one. So I like Jackson Smith as my pick here at the Seahawks.
And I got to say, I like that fit because I think you need to diversify a receiver room. And while he does have size, right, he's 6 foot tall. It's not like he's 5'8". He's a slot guy. To me, he's a slot guy. He's arguably the best route runner in the draft. and you add him with DK Metcalf and, Tyler Lockett, and you got to move D. Eskridge into a more, hybrid fourth wide receiver role, that maybe that gadget role that's becoming, more evident in the league, especially, when you look at what the Cardinals did going out and, a guy was Rondale Moore. I always forget that guy's name, but, they went out and got Rondale Moore. And to me, like, he's a guy that isn't quite cracking their starting three, so he's more of that four guy. They can move Eskridge there, who they drafted in the second round in 2021, and then they could move JSN. Yeah, I like that, Cam. I think, I don't know. I think that's interesting. It made me rethink my pick a little bit. I'm going to stick by it, of course, but Miles Murphy, Clemson, come on down. Okay. We're trying to build something here, Cam, on the defensive side. Defense wins championships. I don't have to tell you that. And so while I think the league kind of went through it a little bit, seeing Patrick Mahomes, the running backs took off last year. Just we've talked about that on the Bleav in Rams podcast. Just the ground game took off last year because teams were playing more lighter boxes, more soft zone to establish themselves against those high octane passing attacks. I think you can take advantage of a trend here, Cam, and I think that's what Seattle can do. I think they can bolster their defense by having these teams try to go big or go home on the offensive side of the ball. And meanwhile, in the back end, they're like, yeah, we're gearing up for Legion of the Boom 2.0. Now, I don't know who that is. I don't know who that will be. But what I am saying is that they did go out and get Julian Love. Tariq Woolen was an absolute stud last year as a rookie. They have Quandre Diggs. They still have Jamal Adams. I could see them go on a corner here, but I think they take the best overall guy available on their board at all likelihood. Miles Murphy has an incredible frame. The biggest knock game, Cam, he just didn't get that much better, but he's already really good as it is. So I'm not really worried about that. Maybe I question the coaching at Clemson to unlock his potential. Maybe it's not always on the player. So I'll say that right now. They took Jalen Carter in both of our mocks, but I think they double dip on a defensive guy. And, I think this is somebody who was once considered a top 10, prospect. They get him here at 20.
Okay. I like the double dip there, Drake. You mentioned that defenses win championships. So, hey, why not? And, going back to just the skill level that Miles Murphy brings to the table here. And I actually have a Clemson guy next. So, but what I like about Miles Murphy is he runs the hoop really well, right? Sometimes you see those drills where you have that little hula hoop. You see the guys turning that corner. Well, Miles Murphy, he's teach tape, right? Cut his tape on, and you see him turning that corner, bending that edge. And a lot of times the reason why they do that is because you cut off angles, right? The offensive tackle, when he's trying to set back and block, if you turn that corner, it's going to cut off his edge, and you'll be able to get around the shoulder pad and get the sack. So he's really good at doing it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just to play at that size, I just was blown away on tape. I mean, again, he's not my number one edge defender in this class, but I think we oftentimes forget because everyone sees the top 10. As soon as the guy's outside of the top 10 or he's seventh, you get the comments. I'm already seeing him, and it's like, why do you hate this guy? I'm like, I don't hate him. He's seventh in my positional ranking, but I still have a first round grade on him. It's like, and I'm not saying that's where Miles Murphy is, but the point still stands.
Yep, it still stands. And, we're talking about Clemson guys. For my next pick here, I'm going with another Clemson guy. And, I know the Chargers are up here next. I'm almost tripling down here because, they got the Bosa brother. They got Khalil Mack. They got a whole bunch of guys on this defensive line at the Chargers. But I'm going to go with Brian Brees, Jake. The reason why I say that is because the guys that I just mentioned, Khalil Mack, who knows how much time he has left, right, on his playing career. And so getting guys behind him to learn, to understand the playbook before that does happen. So I'm going with Brian Brees. One thing that really stood out for me, Jake, is guy's 6'5", 298. He ran a 4.8 on the 40. So come on, sign him up, right? And so have him in the interior, let the two guys on the outside eat. But one thing I really liked about him is his motor, Jake, his ability to wrap. We talked about this pick wrap concept, right? Where one guy comes down and the other guy wraps around. I think Brian Brees is his best when he's rapping. You see over and over on this tape where he's getting constant sacks on these pick and wrap plays. So, I would love to see a guy like Brian Brees is a big guy. So there's not going to be much going on inside there. I know we got Morgan Fox on the Chargers and we got, other players that can make it happen, but I would like to see someone step in, a big name, and support these guys on the outside because at some point they're going to leave. So I would love to see him be inserted there. And like I said, his motor is high. He has a high motor. And one thing that's really funny when you watch his tape, Jake, is he runs like his knack to get to the quarterback. He runs like a wild man. So you'll see him kind of rap, and then you'll see him like, trying to get to the quarterback. But he gets it done. You could just tell like he has a will to do it. And sometimes he can't get there because his body won't move him fast enough, even though he ran a 4.8. But his will and his mind is like, ooh, I've already made this sack. So now come on here. So Brian Bleav, I love to watch him play. And like I said, great motor. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with the great motor part. He's got heavy hands. He hits you and you go back. I think Bleav he's kind of a day one, day two guy for me. So he actually didn't make it in my first round. So I think that's the first time we had a difference where a guy's in the first round, a guy isn't. But interesting pick there. And looking at their depth, I mean, Austin Johnson's a good player and Morgan Fox a good player. And Sebastian Joseph Day, of course, he's Sebastian Joseph Day. But after that, there's not a ton there. So I could definitely see that, and we'll see where they go in that direction. But Cam, I gotta say, I think the Los Angeles Chargers need some electricity. And I think that electricity is going to come out of wide receiver Zay Jones out of Boston College. Mm-hmm. When you look at the receiver room, it's Mike Williams, Joshua Palmer, okay, and then you have Keenan Allen in the slot. I think Keenan Allen can definitely play on the outside, okay? Mm-hmm. I think you can... Zay Flowers, to me, can be used as a slot, can be used on the outside. He has the physicality to win. He's been somewhat compared to Antonio Brown, and I'm not going to lie, I see it.
Yeah, I do too.
I think he's just got this energy about him where he wants to do everything and he wants to do it well. And the thing that really stood out to me when I became a fan that he was going to be the number one wide receiver taken is when I'm watching the tape, I'm like, okay, Jackson Smith and Jigba, he tried, not a great blocking effort. I watched Jordan Addison. Okay, not bad, not great. And then I watched Zay Flowers, and he just took this guy and slammed him down like he was a wrestler in WWE. And I'm like, wait a minute. I was like, okay, I'm liking this tape right now. And just to see, his urgency out of his breaks, he's got the speed to threaten you deep. He's got the speed and the quickness and the agility and the foot speed overall to make a man miss in space. You can see him on tape going up and high pointing the football. He plays bigger than he is. To me, Josh Palmer now becomes one of the best wide receiver fours in football, bar none, because he's good enough to play. But we're trying to win championships over here in LA. The Rams did it. And if I'm the Chargers right now, I got Justin Herbert. Okay, I don't know what the whole Austin Eckler thing's going to end up being, but I got to focus on getting my guy Justin Herbert weapons regardless of how the whole Austin Eckler thing goes. I need to get him another receiver. I need to get him Zay Flowers.
Yep, you're right. And you mentioned the receiving core at the Chargers. They're excellent, but you just need that extra spark or that jolt of electricity, as you mentioned. And you talked about the Antonio Brown comparison. Jake, I see it too. I saw a play on this highlight tape and watching this film where it was a red zone play. He was going behind the line of scrimmage. He motioned, he came back the other way and then scored a touchdown. I'm like, he looking like Antonio Brown. Just the way he's stopping, he's starting. It's very efficient. And like you said, he wants to do the little things right. And I can see that as Zay Flowers. And there's a couple, I know he's a little bit further down on my list, but you know what? I'll save that. I'll save that for later. But I'm just going to let you know that I see the Antonio Brown piece, and he's coming down on my list pretty soon. So I'll talk about him a little bit later.
Hey, and Cam, they lost their return man in free agency, whose name is escaping me. So now he becomes the return guy too, like Antonio Brown was.
Oh, snap. Yeah, no, I really love that pick, Jake, and I can definitely touch on him a little bit later. So now my pick going to the Ravens. I know Lamar Jackson, what is that going to look like? They got Odell, right? And so they got some boys. So I want to beefing up the defensive side. So I'm going with Nolan Smith out of UGA, edge rusher. All right, Jake. We all know about Nolan Smith. I know he set out the championship game, but he has freakish ability. 4.39. Come on, playing edge. 6'2". Like, come on, fam. He had a 1.5 split in his 10-yard dash. Like, that's That's scary.
He's why you need a mobile quarterback. You know, he's guys like him, goes back to what we were saying on this show a few episodes ago. Mm-hmm. He is the reason that teams are now prioritizing. You don't necessarily have to run, but you need to be able to move. Like, I can't have a statue anymore when I have Nolan Smith, who's coming off the edge. He's got 4.39 speed. If you're trying to get to the sideline and throw it away, he's already at your legs, man.
That's tough, and that's tough. I mean, talk about the 10-second, the 10-yard split for 1-5. Like, the quarterback is down, said hut. He's there. I mean, he ran a 4.39, Jake. His vert was 41.5. He had a 10.8 broad. So, Jake, he can jump to the quarterback faster than he can release the ball. So, it's getting insane. It's getting insane here. But a couple of notes about him. I have crazy power, crazy motor to get around the edge. Best when he's using his speed rush. I compared him. I gave like a Vic Beasley comparison because Vic Beasley, when you see Vic, he's like, whoa, like, did this dude just do that? And, when he comes off the edge. So I gave him a Vic Beasley comp. I'm not sure how it panned out for him in the NFL, right? And so, he's working on his career, but I do have faith that Nolan Smith can work it out here. But like I said, the way he comes off the edge, it's just crazy. I put crazy speed, crazy power. I put it by everything. And then he's team oriented, Jake. I know he's a big team guy. So when it comes to the team, those are some of the notes for him. Is just he's just known to be that guy that kind of gets everyone together and a glue guy for the defense. So I got my guy Nolan Smith going to the Ravens and helping my guy Lamar Jackson win some games.
Yeah, I think he is. I mean, him and Odafe away, talk about athleticism for days. You're adding. Oh man, that's gonna be nuts. No, I like him, man. I really like him. And, another guy I really like is the guy that you already mentioned is Kalijah Kancey, and that's where I have him going. Okay. I think they need to add some help in the interior defensive line. I think when you look, first off, you already mentioned the Aaron Donald comps. He's not Aaron Donald, but that doesn't mean he's not a very good player. And he is a very good player. And, I think when you look, he's smaller, quicker. Right now they have Michael Pierce. He has a lockdown at the nose. They don't need a nose tackle, right? They got Michael Pierce. Justin Matabike, I think is how you say his name. Very good player, right? He's really starting to develop, form a third-round pick. Broderick Washington is the other guy. I think they can really upgrade Broderick Washington. I think he turns more into a rotational guy, and I don't think that's bad, but I think it makes more sense. I know they spent a third last year on Travis Jones. I'm not saying give up on Travis Jones. And to keep this in mind, Michael Pierce isn't going to be around forever, right? So Matabike might get paid. So Travis Jones isn't done by virtue of them making this pick. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the thing that people kind of miss, because I've seen that, why would you move Kancey there? They have Travis Jones. They spent a third on last year because Kancey's that guy. Interior rush, ever since guys like Geno Atkins and Aaron Donald really took over, interior rush has been everything. Chris Jones is getting paid. Jeffrey Simmons is getting paid. This is where the league is trending, because one thing you can do to stop any quarterback is give him pressure up the gut. When you give him pressure up the gut, now he moves to the left and, there's Nolan Smith. He moves to the right and, that's Robert Quinn or somebody with that level, explosiveness. My point is that there's always going to be fast guys coming off the edge. There's always going to be talent. But when you have really dominant players that can, basically collapse that pocket up front, you can't step in your throw. It's going to make it a lot easier to defend a quarterback that way.
Yep. And you mentioned that pressure up the gut, right? A lot of times when it comes to quarterbacks, they're taught when that clock goes off in your head, that 1 to 2 seconds, to avoid that pressure, step up in the pocket. That's step up in the pocket, because when guys rush, they come on the outsides, and a lot of times the tackles are taught to push them past that 3 to 4 yard mark where the quarterback is. So they're always taught step up in the pocket, but you can't step up when you got a guy like Kancey that's applying that pressure at the middle. Jake, you're spot on there.
Yeah, and you try to run outside, and now we got the Mr. 4.3 speed. So if it's Lamar Jackson, but we're talking about the Ravens here getting Kancey, so it's not. But if it's Lamar Jackson, okay. If it's Patrick Mahomes, okay. He's not as athletically gifted as Lamar, but the point is that it's not always going to be those quarterbacks. Sometimes it's going to be Jared Goff. Sometimes it's going to be Kirk Cousins. You're not always going to have a quarterback that's going to be able to escape that. And that is how you win football games. That's one of the main reasons how you win football games. When you can start applying pressure, getting in the quarterback's face, they can't score points. Then you start running the ball. This guy can help you in the run game. Matabike can help you in the run game. Michael Pierce is a gap eater, can take on 3 guys at once and just literally just clog the lanes. That's how you win football games.
There you go. There you go. You talked about
chess, not checkers.
There you go. And you talked about Kirk Cousins. That's a perfect alley-oop. That's a perfect alley-oop because we got the Vikings next. And we need someone. Kirk needs someone to throw the football to, right? Thielen is, not there anymore, right? You got Jefferson rocking out. So I got my guy Quentin Johnston coming out from TCU.
I do too.
Okay, perfect. And I saw you put on social media a nice little write up on him, on Quentin. But hey, I'll start it off and I'll pass it over to you. But the guy's 6'3", Jake, 208, 40-inch vert, 11-inch broad, right? That sounds like the defensive end we just talked about with Nolan. You got a receiver with the same numbers as a defensive end, so that's insane. So just imagine that receiver going up to go high point of football. That's what you want, right? First team All Big 12 for 2 seasons, national title run. So he's been experienced. And Jake, my comp here, the way he moves his body, and a lot of times we go for these kind of Hall of Fame athletes for the comp, but why not? Let's go big or go home. I got him as a Julio Jones comp. The way he's running, his speed, his burst, I see him coming across the field, and I'm like, his stride length, the way he moves, it reminds me of Julio's. I've seen Julio up front in person and live, and so just seeing his stride length, the way he runs, I'm seeing the Julio comp here, Jake. Like I said, Julio might be a Hall of Famer, the way he's been balling in his career in the NFL, bar to none. But I love the way that this young man and Brother Johnson, the way he runs and his elite speed, freak athlete. And like I said, I go Julio Jones. What are your thoughts?
So I have Quentin Johnson, like we just talked about. Thielen is in Carolina now. Some would say this is an endorsement of KJ Osborne. Some would say this might be an endorsement of Jalen Reagor. Some people might even say this is an endorsement for Jalen Naylor, who they drafted in the 6th round last year. I would say that basically Adam Thielen was older and they were going in a different direction, and to not hold your breath. KJ Osborne is legit, though. I think he'll be their slot guy. Maybe he plays on the outside. But the reason I went the direction I did with Quentin Johnston, because I think Justin Jefferson is owed a complimentary piece. And when you look at the body that Johnston has, you don't think of a big-bodied receiver being able to move like that after the catch, make guys miss, stop and start. He doesn't play like he looks, and that's also part of the reason why he's not a top 10 pick, because he doesn't use his body enough. He'll use it at times, and I'll see that, but he doesn't use it enough. He's not consistent with his usage of, we talk about boxing out defenders, playing above the rim. He's not consistent in that. So I think he goes to Minnesota. He has NFL coaching. I think they'll be able to coach him up and just be like, hey, man, you look like Tarzan. Don't play like Jane. Go up and high point that football. Take care of yourself, man, because you were built in a lab, my guy. And I think that's my pause, but also kind of it's a flex, but it's also kind of the pause for concern. Because it's like, man, you got to use your size more. But Minnesota fans will be going like crazy for this. This guy has serious 1,200-yard potential, but he needs to be able to, put it all together and use his size. Because some of the things that he did in college, bodying, when he's just running into guys, that doesn't work in the NFL. You're playing against these corners that are flying off you like they're nothing. Not every corner in the NFL is going to be 5'7", weigh 160 pounds.
No, especially this guy that I got coming up next, Jake. This guy that got coming up next, he's 6'1". Now he's 6'1", so he big too. He ran a 4.3, and I got the Jags coming up next. So I got Cam Smith coming out of South Carolina. He's super physical, and he had 10 penalties per PPF, Jake. And so you just mentioned that you can't go up and body people. Johnson can't go body people. He definitely not gonna body Cam because Cam gonna get a flag. Cam super aggressive. We talked about this before. Flags can win you championships or lose you championships. In Cam's case, it can lose you championships. So, or games in general. So when it comes to Cam Smith, he's gonna have to work on that. That's a major flag, literally and figuratively. We want guys to be disciplined, so Cam's gonna have to work on that. A lot of times that's just technique. That a lot of it is just mental, Jake. Just mentally, where's your mind at on this play? What are you thinking here? So I got Cam Smith, a long outside corner. Like I said, he can come up and make tackles. He's physical at the line of scrimmage, and I can see him, bodying up guys like Quentin Johnson because he's 6'1". And if Quentin Johnson wants to get a little too close, my guy Cam, he's going to stick it to him. So I got Cam Smith going to the Jags.
I like it. Interesting. You have a corner. You didn't have the corner that I think they might end up getting if they go corner, Emmanuel Forbes. I've mentioned him now twice. And I don't even have him in the first round, but I think some of it's just wishful thinking as a Rams fan. Either way, I have guard Osiris Torrance out of Florida. So he stays in Florida, but he's a guard, so we can't call it a business decision, right? This isn't exactly like Osiris Torrance isn't just, he's not going to be on your Nike commercials or anything like that. Although Nike should give the guy some love. But what I will say, what I'll say about Torrance is that he's the best guard in football, in this draft. And when you look at Trevor Lawrence and the step he took, and I was kind of not really I wouldn't say a hater or anything like that, but like I wasn't a true believer that he was as good as he was
because of his hair.
And it's definitely that. No, I just didn't think he deserved the comps that like Peyton Manning. I don't think he was Peyton Manning. I think maybe the legend of Trevor Lawrence became bigger than he actually was in college, because I think college he was huge, but then the NFL, like going into the draft process, I didn't see the same. And I also saw some of the games where I expected him to take off. He didn't. But anyway, back to my point. The point is Jacksonville saw him take that next step. They played in the playoffs. They won a playoff game. They came back. He had an awful game, but then came back and turned it around. Okay. We need to get him some help at all costs. And to me, adding Torrance, there will be people banging the table for Ben Barch. I don't care who goes, but Torrance is a plug and play guard. Period. And he's gonna create a wall for your franchise quarterback to throw the ball.
There you go. I mean, you need protection, Jake. We need protection. These quarterbacks have new helmets, Jake. These guys have new helmets now to stay protected, and I think that's super important. So I like the pick there. Making sure your franchise quarterback can make sure his hair is protected. Make sure he's good. Make sure he's good to go. So I love it there, Jake. So moving along, I know we got the Giants here coming up. I know they're working on Saquon Barkley's piece there. They got Daniel Jones locked in, and the wide receiver room is looking great. So I'm sure we just talked about it, protecting your quarterback, protecting your running back. But I got a receiver coming out of here, Jake. One of the guys we just talked about, Zay Flowers, coming in, right? And so I like Zay Flowers. Going to the Giants to have another piece to throw the football to. And I know right now they got a couple guys. You got Sterling Shepard, Jamison Crowder. But these guys, when it comes to their career and the point that they are at in their career, they're going to need some young cats to mentor. So I like a Zay Flowers to come in and support with that. And you talked about his ability. You said that his ability was similar to someone that is going to be a Hall of Famer, depending on how he acts. He hasn't been acting too great, right, in Antonio Brown, but just the way Zay Flowers can play football, Jake, it stands out on tape. We talked about that play on his tape where he's going behind the line of scrimmage and juking out people, and he's just looking elite. He's looking elite. He can do it all. He can play special teams. One of the comps I have for him also is just his big playability. It reminds me of you're like your Deebo Samuels, your Stephon Diggs, where these guys are just catching the ball, their ability to make plays after the catch. I love that for Zay Flowers. So I can see him going to the Giants, and I also love your pick too, where he went for your piece there. So hey, Zay Flowers, he's coming off the board at some point. Long story short, he's come off the board in the first round, and I love him as well at 5'9", 182, ran a 4.42. So, hey, let's go. Zay Flowers.
Yeah, I mean, Cam, I'll just say this right now. It was between a wide receiver and a DB for me with the Giants. I think they have a playoff roster. Obviously, they were just in the playoffs. They spent all that money on Daniel Jones. To me, go out and get him a weapon. I think that makes a lot of sense. For whatever reason, I think that they're going to target it in round 2. So I went with a top 15 talent who it has fallen down boards, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets drafted higher on draft night. And, NFL teams are higher on him because the whole idea of rising up draft boards, no, my guy. They're rising up our draft boards, like the community's draft boards. We don't know what the draft boards are. It's it's one of those funny things we always say. But Brian Branch, there are teams that have him listed as a corner. There are teams that have him listed as a safety. Those teams that have him listed as a corner are really interesting because he could end up being like their best corner on their board. That changes the outlook of things, right? Because you and I have top 2 corners going off the board already. But for the Giants, I think they're going to see him as a safety. And no offense to Bobby McCain, veteran guy, not a bad player, but I think you can definitely upgrade there. And I think Brian Branch is definitely an upgrade over Bobby McCain.
And Branch, and I can see him playing the slot too, Jake. I saw it, and I saw his ability playing that number 2 receiver. I'm like, ooh, you can put him down there, you can put him back, you can put him in the box. So I like that there, and I know we're going to roll on a little bit here. So now going to the Cowboys, pick 26, Jake. I have brother Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright going to the Cowboys, 6'5", 333. He played, like I said, he played right tackle, left tackle. He played guard as well. In high school, first team USA, All American. So now all team SEC. I have some of the notes here, Jake. He's a nasty side to him, Jake. He is a nasty side to him. You see a lot of times where he's kind of slapping the arms down and like dumping the defensive lineman. As a defensive guy, I hate it, right? But as an offensive group, you love to see it. Like I said, it's a little dirty. It's a little dirty. It's a little chippy, but sometimes you got to have that nasty edge. Sometimes you got to have guys that can do some things. And hey, you got Pollard back there, so you got to protect him at all costs. Him and Dak back there. So if you got to knock a guy's arms down and throw his head in the dirt, feel free to do that. But a couple of the notes I have on him as well, just sometimes I can see him getting beat inside. He likes to overstep a bit, and so when it comes to those inside moves, he's a little susceptible to that. So and I can also see him, like I said, playing that guard position, Jake. We talked about that, him getting beat inside. At tackle in the NFL, you can't get beat inside like that. And so I saw it happen in college a little bit. So maybe moving him to guard to protect that inside move might help out a little bit. But that's who I have going to the Cowboys.
Yeah, I had him going to the Jets. I think he is a very good player. Definitely somebody, again, with the mock drafters. Oh, I thought he's rising up boards. I thought it was a 2nd round pick. He's going in the 1st round. Here's a guy who's going in the 1st round that was at one point getting crazy buzz, and then it just died off. Michael Mayer from Notre Dame. I have the Cowboys going out and replacing Dalton Schultz. I like Jake Ferguson. I think he is definitely a talented tight end who can develop into a decent pass catcher. And Peyton Hendershot, while I wasn't a huge fan of him coming out of the draft, he honestly has a role with the Cowboys. But they're not sticking with those 2 guys. They will be drafting a tight end. And I Bleav that this is fireworks to get the Notre Dame guy, big Michael Mayer. I think when you look at just the star capability of that, having him, having CeeDee Lamb, having Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup, and they got Jalen Tolbert last year. Let's not forget. Everyone has some pick and receiver, but Jalen Tolbert was a 3rd rounder last year, and I don't think receivers are as quick to just give up on after a year, especially a rookie receiver. So I have them going with Michael Mayer. That was my pick there.
Okay, Michael Mayer, he's coming up on the board for me. He's all football, everything, and I'm definitely going to talk about him soon. Next for me, for the Bills, I got DeJuan Jones, right? Tackle coming out of Ohio State. Someone who can protect our quarterback in Josh Allen, right? We talked about him sliding a little bit more. Jake doesn't Bleav he can do it, but having a guy like DeJuan Jones, 6'8", 374, Jake, oh my gosh, 89-inch wingspan, like, that's like the largest in Senior Bowl history or something like that. That's it. That's insane, Jake. That's insane. And I know he's a basketball standout in high school. Someone said that he has the biggest jersey that Nike has ever made. That's insane. I don't know how I can imagine that. How we can imagine that, but they call him the Big Thanos in college. I would love a guy like this protect my quarterback in Josh Allen. So I got him going to the Bills. Big DeJuan Jones, big athlete. Big sexy, whatever you want to call him, Sign him up.
So I have Jackson Smith and Jigba, and the reason behind this pick is that when I look at the Bills, I look at the fact that they already have that deep threat. I don't know why everyone has the Bills getting a deep threat. They have Gabe Davis. Like, the guy averages like 18, 19 yards per reception. That's a deep threat, my guy, you know? And they have Stephon Diggs, so they have that route runner that can win on the outside. So those are two guys on the outside. I think JSN works as in the slot. I think JSN is a slot guy. I think he's like I've said, he's arguably the best route runner in the class. They have Khalil Shakir as well as Deontay Hardy, but I still think that JSN falling here, this is where I think he'll go, or around this area. I think it makes sense for the Bills. I could see them going a multitude of directions. I could see them picking Bijan Robinson, but I think they'll go with JSN if he's here at pick 27.
Yeah, and Stephon Diggs, he might need some support. You mentioned about Davis, but Stephon was a little upset in the playoff run when they didn't make it. So, hey, they're going to have somebody to throw the ball to now. I like that. And so moving on a little bit here, I got the Bengals next. I got Michael Mayer. Here going to the Bengals, helping out Joe Burrow a little bit and adding some beat to that tight end room. And my man was thinking about basketball going into college, and so he ended up playing football, right? Ended up becoming the Gatorade Player of the Year in high school. So super impressive with Mr. Meyer, 6'4", 249, running a 4.7. So some folks comparing him to Jason Witten. Who knows how he's going to pan out in the NFL, but my man, he's a baller. He leads Notre Dame in 3 different categories, right, as a tight end. So like I said, he's all everything. He won the John Mackey Award for tight ends in his junior year. So he's Mr. Tight End. He is Mr. Football. Mr. Mayer playing at the Bengals. I got helping out Joe Burrow.
So I have Bijan Robinson way later than you did, but I think this is the best spot for him. I think when you look, he's hard to predict. I could see him going top 10. I could see him falling out of the first entirely. It's all dependent on how the league's going to value running backs, and I think there just needs to be that one team. I think the Bengals are that team with all the Mixon stuff going on, which we've talked about repeatedly. I think it's a real concern, and I think he might even get traded draft night after making this move. Sign me up for Bijan Robinson, the Bengals.
I like Bijan. Bijan's one of my favorites. I keep talking about the Reggie Bush comp, but no one wants to hear me. But hey, we'll see. And next year, like I said, we're getting close to the end. I got here for the Saints. I got Myles Murphy coming out of Clemson, helping out Cam Jordan on the other side. We talked about Murphy, just his ability to play ball. He's a baller. He's going to go get that quarterback, 6'5", 268, coming out of Hillgrove High School. Another guy coming out of Georgia, Jake. We played against Hillgrove. So Hillgrove, we got your Bradley Chubbs, your Kenyon Drake. So Myles Murphy coming from a lineage of great players, 7 sacks in 2021. And I have here constant motor, and like I said, again, run that hoop really well. So that's my guy.
So I have Mozzie Smith out of Michigan. I think that the Saints defensive-minded coach, I know a lot of people have them going, offensive player here, but I think, they add Nathan Shepard in the offseason. They add my guy, Colin Saunders. I still think they're going to add some more help in that defensive line room. And, Mozzie Smith is just an absolute monster against the run. He's just a very physical guy. I think, he's really going to help them out. And he's typically the archetype that they go for. So Mozzie Smith off the board at 29 for the Saints.
Okay, Mozzie. And then at 30 for the Eagles, I got our guy coming out of Northwestern, Jake. The Eagles, like I said, you got to get some guys that can bring that football back to the Brinks truck. So I got Adetomiwa Adebawore coming out of Northwestern. Landed that one. 6'2", 282, ran a 4.49, Jake. Like, that's all you got to say. Philly fans are going to go crazy. Super. I put super explosive here. Not crazy, super explosive. And his get off is insane. Like I said, he gets upfield faster than most players in the NFL. So he's going to be a problem at the next level.
Yeah, and I have Jalen Hyatt. Tennessee wide receiver is going to create an explosive, weapon over the top. The rich get richer. I mean, they snagged Christian Gonzalez in my mock here at pick 10. Now they go out and they get my number 1 receiver, won the Bolitnikov. I think when you bring in, you have Quez Watkins, you bring in Olamide Zaccheaus to stretch the field, great and all, but this is a massive upgrade. You pair him now with Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. It's like having Mike Wallace in your prime, putting him with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Tell me that's not scary.
That is very scary. You talk about that award, the Blitnoff. I got my next guy going to the Chiefs, Jordan Addison, Jake, right? Adding the rich get richer, Patrick Mahomes, getting another threat there, 449 guy, won that award, the Blitnoff Award in 2022. So, hey, All-American, first team ACC when he was at Pittsburgh. So he was a threat when he was at another school as well. He was on everybody's radar. So, he went to USC and got first team All Pac-12. So, the issue, of course, was he didn't score too many touchdowns over 7 games. But, hey, that's all right. When he gets to the NFL, he's going to get paid to score the touchdowns.
Yeah, and my last pick here, and I think that there's a very good chance that they trade out of this pick, and I think there's a chance the Los Angeles Rams trade into this pick. I'm not going to take a trade here. I'm going to say that the Chiefs stick with it. They're going to get Anton Harrison because why? I'll tell you why. Teams will call the Chiefs about this pick. There's going to be fans that beg for a wide receiver like Jordan Addison, like you're mentioning. Not a knock on you, but there's going to be fans begging for it. But ultimately, I think they're taking another offensive lineman, and here's why. They go after high upside Anton Harrison. To me, you have him work to start, but you have him as a guy that can sit, right? And I think that's the thing. If he's good enough, he picks. But this is the thing. He is a dynasty pick. And what I mean by that is this is a team that is not just trying to win now. They're trying to have sustained success, win all the time, right? And I think this is what it takes for sustained success. You focus on the trenches. They would love a big play receiver, but I think, Brett Veach is going to opt to go the route, second or third rounder, and he's going to go for offensive line depth. And I think it's going to make their life easier down the road. And so it's going to keep you keep protecting Patrick Mahomes, and you're in the driver's seat, my friend.
There you go. Happy Patrick, happy life. Hey, keep him healthy. And, guys are coming after him. He's always hurting every Super Bowl, every championship, but he finds a way to get it done.
Absolutely. So, man, this show ran a while, but we appreciate you guys sticking with us. Special happy birthday to New England Patriot Pro Bowl linebacker Steve Nelson. He turned 72 today.
Stevie.
And that's going to be it, guys. So appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys real soon. Enjoy the draft. And we can't wait to come back here and talk about it. So take it easy, guys. Later.
Peace.